course, yes, we will highly recommend the Open High School program to those who are still unschooled or underschooled. That's why we are believing that it was a great opportunity for every student for them to study using alternative learning. And at the same time, it might help those students who are unable to acquire proper schooling, having financial difficulties, living in a remote and isolated areas, and some other reasons. As we observe that there are many students who already finished their elementary education but they have no longer continue to study in secondary education. Another thing that the dropout rates here in our country was rising due to financial difficulties, family problems, and some other economic limitations. The program might help to reduce dropout rates and serves as a bridge for all unschooled youth here in our country. As well as the Open High School program is highly recommended because it might become beneficial to the students wherever they from and which they can able to continue their studies and aims to provide quality education for all in order for the students to acquire learning needs.
Okay, tell me about yourself.
Ako nga pala si Goboy, 19 years old, nakatira sa Sembo, Makati City. Taong 2017 ako nag-aral ng Open High School sa 4th year fashion.
What about your educational experience in terms of coping up with their lessons?
Hindi po madali yung mga lesson namin kasi una po, magkakaiba kami ng edad, tapos minsan nagtuturo yung teacher, minsan naman po nagbibigay lang po ng activity, tapos aalis na din po.
What about your experience in terms of student and teacher relation?
Yung relasyon po namin mga student sa teacher, parehas lang po ng sa regular class.
How about your schedule?
Schedule ko po nun, tuwing Thursday lang po ako pumapasok. 8 ng umaga hanggang 5 ng hapon. Ayun po yung schedule na.
Why you choose to enter Open High School rather than regular class?
Kasi po, nung grade 9 po ako, may bagsak po ako na dalawa. So, nag-OH ako para mahabol ko po yung dalawang subject ko po na bagsak.
Sa tingin mo, anong mas masaya? Regular class or sa Open High School?
Siyempre, regular class pa din. Napilitan lang naman ako sa OH kasi bagsak ako nung grade 9. Kaya, ayun. Pero nagsisi rin ako kasi ba't ako nag-OH.
Bakit naman?
Boring po kasi yung OH kasi isang araw lang po kayo nagsasama ng mga classmate mo. Hindi tulad sa regular class, araw-araw kayo nagkikita, masaya. Thank you po.
Miss Merlyn B. Berania is currently teaching at Palahanan NHS school year 2019 to 2020. For some reasons, she is not available for a face-to-face or even on screen-to-screen interview, but she gave her perspective about her teaching experience in Open High School program. According to her, Palahanan NHS planned of offering Open High School program last school year 2019 to 2020. Sadly, it was cancelled due to some requirements not met on time. The principal decided to continue with another alternative delivery mode, which is Schools Initiative Interventions or SII, and called it Class Intervention Program or CIP. The different teaching experience or different challenges she have been encountered during the program was on convincing students to continue their study despite of the problems they have that hinders them in reaching their goals. She had done home visiting to her students, even at the most remote areas, to have further knowledge about her students' cases of absenteeism. According to her, she handled those challenges by giving all the possible benefits from studying with a great convincing power. She gained courage in visiting remote areas with the power of prayers and also by contacting parents and students by all means. The common factor affecting the academic performance of the students are financial problems, family problems, work, being bullied by the classmates, and having a low self-esteem. According to her, all I can say that these factors affect their academic performance. As a teacher who experienced all the hardship mentioned above, she highly recommends the Open High School program because it is a program designed to help students at disadvantaged situations in order to acquire learning needs.
Based on our interview from the teachers and the students who undergo Open High School program, we list some recommendations that can help to improve the implementations of Open High School program here in the Philippines. First, teachers should have this special training to assess different learners who were developing individual paces. We must know the strengths and weaknesses of implementation of Open High School program and also the learners' capabilities and what hinders them in studying. By this, we will know what they're going to improve and the adjustments they need to do, especially in the learning process of the students who undertaken the Open High School program. Second, update the learning materials to encompasses the competencies that they need to acquire just like the normal class. Third, house-to-house visitations of teachers into their students. If they have noticed that their students are not responding or not attending to the class, they must conduct visitation for them to know what is the problem of their student and how they can help.
Number 4. The school administrator should conduct a seminar for open high school students that aims to help the students to feel more motivated to study as well as to learn how to overcome their problems in life. And lastly, the parents as a stakeholders for them to know and be involved in the learning of their children. It is also good for them to be updated on what the state of their children is studying the program. The school administrations also conduct a seminar not only for the students, but as well as to their parent in order to help their children in coping their lessons and to guide them in their studies.
In Australia, dropping out most commonly refers to a student quitting school before he or she graduates. Reasons for students dropping out vary but usually include avoiding bullies, finding employment, family problems, depression, and other mental illnesses, teenage pregnancy, substance abuse, in some cases even boredom. They believe that the segregation of students in school through geography as well as in the private and public system means student disadvantage. Dropout rates vary throughout different locations in Australia. Students that attend school in remote communities have a highest chance of not completing year 12, 56.6%, whereas students that came from a wealthy background share an average completion rate of 90%. Australia conduct this remote schooling program serve primarily indigenous students. Geography and lack of resources cause indigenous students to have lower rates of completion. The gap between indigenous and non-indigenous year 12 grades is over 40 percentage points. As a result of the substantial differences, lower socioeconomic students who drop out are considered at-risk students and are ultimately prone to unemployment, incarceration, low-paying employment, and having children at early ages.
Among the dropouts in China, 16.7% have chosen to earn their living away from their hometown, while 48.3% stayed at home as farmers. The rising rate of dropouts in rural schools has gravely impaired rural educational development. A member of CPPCC National Committee urged the government and relevant departments to strengthen their responsibility over the 9-year compulsory education and set an agenda to address the issue of rural dropouts. Wen Jiating said that the reason behind the rising rate of dropouts in rural schools are not only financial concern of parents, but also the students' boredom with classes. On the other hand, Wen said Rural schools should stop following the steps of urban schools in the design of teaching and learning materials, which should be rearranged in a way that benefits rural students in their future work and life. Deputies to the National People's Congress, or China's top legislator, also suggested that pro-education policies and mechanisms should be instituted to support rural students in less developed regions. China has launched a HOPE project on October 30, 1989 to pool donations to help rural impoverished school-aged children to complete primary school education. So far, 2.6 million needy students in China have benefited from the project by November 2004.
The major approaches to dropout prevention seek to use knowledge of the factors associated with dropping out to craft intervention to increase the chances that students will remain in school through high school graduation. The various prevention efforts fall into three major categories such as school-based approaches, environmental approaches, and also system-building approaches. So the first one is school-based approaches. It includes both programs and practices designed to enhance the prospect for student academic success and those designed to strengthen the positive social relationship and climate of support and concern students find in school. The second one is environmental approaches. It includes strategies to address unsupportive outside conditions by developing new relationship between families and school, which is very important, and the integration of educational and human services to address the social and economic problems that impede progress through school. The third one is system building approaches. It includes all those activities entailed in continuing to expand secondary education in those societies in which secondary schooling is not widely available. Included are the things such as establishing schools closer to the local communities of students and enhancing the quality of the teaching force and also the curriculum itself. No Child Left Behind Act. The federal government has created widespread pressure to improve academic achievement. Creating incentives to improve graduation rates will require an equally strategic effort. Federal appropriation of between $1 billion to $1.5 billion a year for 5 to 6 years can speed adoption and expand the scale of state and local innovation and help create conditions to states to be laboratories of solution to dropout problem.
In Japan, their government was hands-on to the people, especially when it comes to education, because no matter what is the student's economic background, they get the same treatment of teaching, which turns out to be excellent in providing the needs of the Japanese students. The Japanese government creates more schools for the student and providing teachers with high quality that chosen by the prefectures means that they create more excellent teachers so that the teachers are producing standout students all over the country. The reason why the Japanese student had a 96.7% of high school graduation rate is because of the government support for the teachers and the school facilitators to give the best quality for the students and for the benefits of the country, producing exceptional and outstanding students in the world. This is why they acknowledge the strategies on how they solve the problems of possible dropout students in their country.
School dropout rate in Finland is really low in basic education. About 99.6% of Finnish pupils will go through the basic compulsory education starting their age of 7. They work very hard to avoid nor eradicate possible dropouts immediately. School work together with social and healthcare services to handle bad situations for pupils, such as divorce, violence, drugs, unsocial behavior, and crimes. In Finland, every single pupil is important. Participants will also learn what flexible ways there are to complete basic education even with hard difficulties, such as drugs, violence, alcohol, broken families, and etc. They tend to prevent it accordingly and as much as possible. Finland, they actually do not have dropouts, and all young continue to next school. They offer secondary or vocational training when they are 16 years. Their strategy is basically the focus, the betterment of their student even before they start education. They offer full support in any aspects to avoid uncertain dropouts.